False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, staff writer at fanside.com. I'm joined today by a man who's having a better morning than Gerard Mayo, Doug Peterson, Justin Trudeau, and pretty much everybody who works at Fox Sports not named Colin Cowherd and Nick Wright. Cody Williams, content director, fanside.com. How the hell are you?
Doing good, man. Almost didn't make it to the pod this morning. I had some business to attend to in DC. Glad I made it today.
Oh, so you were a candidate to replace Dan Quinn, and Josh Harris says, "What are you doing? You need to go to Jacksonville."
Yeah, the video from Twitter of the guy like getting drafted by the NFL while he's like on his couch and he's like, me? Like that guy. Yeah, that was me when I got to DC because apparently they weren't firing Dan Quinn because they made the playoffs. I don't know. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah, you beat the Falcons. He beat the Falcons a lot when he coached the Falcons.
That's true.
God,
If there's one thing he's good at, it's beating the Falcons, and that doesn't matter if he's the coach of them or not.
Man, yeah, we're both we don't really care about our teams anymore. Sub 500 NFL teams, bowl caliber college teams.
Dude, it's draft season. Hell yeah, let's go. It's draft season.
Yeah, that's going to be good. We're definitely going to do something with that later. We haven't figured out exactly who we're going to talk about. Maybe just two people, maybe three, maybe everybody. Maybe we're going to draft everybody. We're going to do a live draft, a live snake draft.
There we go. It's going to be snaky.
Snaky. Snaky bakey, snake and bake.
Snake and bake, baby.
Okay, that was stupid. So we obviously false started. We're going to start with our first and 15 today with playoffs. You kidding me? Yes, there are four teams left in the college football playoff, and we're going to power rank them accordingly. Obviously, this is Monday, January 6th. We're going to be doing our midweek show, our late show on Wednesday, and then we're going to be coming to y'all semi-live after the what is it? It's the Cotton Bowl, right?
Yeah, Cotton Bowl's on Friday. Yeah, Cotton Bowl's on Friday.
God, Notre Dame is so screwed. Just the scheduling is so brutal.
It's tough, man. It's not great.
So I'm going to start there. Notre Dame is my number 4.
Okay, so I have Texas at number 4 just because kind of what we talked about on Saturday night. Like, I think Texas has the talent to be number 1, but I think Texas is playing like a team that deserves to be number 4. Like, they're playing with their food. They're playing sloppily. They have been. And, like, I'm starting to get to the point where I just don't know if I can trust this team. Like, I'm looking at this matchup with Ohio State, and, like, it's really hard for me to get there with Texas. And if I'm feeling that way and with how I see the Notre Dame Penn State matchup, I have Texas at 4.
Yeah, I have Texas at 3. I think the difference between me with 4 with Notre Dame and Texas at 3 is I got to be really honest with you. I think Georgia was all out of sorts heading into that game. Obviously, Carson Beck is hurt. Gunnar Stockton's making his first start. You have the tragedy that happened there on Bourbon Street, and also the fact that Kirby Smart's dad had hip surgery and didn't make it. And that was the fact that man actually coached in the game. Credit to him. But it was just like.
And we didn't know about that before the game, did we?
No,
because when I saw that he passed, I was like, wait, was this something that I just completely missed before the game? But I didn't think so.
No, it may have been like an extreme periphery, but we didn't think it was going to be this grave and obviously this sad.
Yeah.
But really to tie a bow on it is after watching the Peach Bowl in person, I feel very strongly saying that Arizona State was playing the best football of anybody for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
They're just at a talent disadvantage to Texas, and obviously with enough time and enough plays, Texas eventually got past them. I kind of feel that like Arizona State was just playing better football than Georgia. Notre Dame took advantage, whereas Texas still took advantage, but not to the degree that Notre Dame did.
And that's completely fair. And I have Notre Dame at 3. So like I'm not like way off on you. I don't see like a huge discrepancy. I think that excuse me, the 2 Big Ten representatives like are very clearly at the top of this list. Like I think that with the performances we saw in the quarterfinals, like they have separated themselves from the other 2 that are in the in the semifinals.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see who we have at 1 and 2. Who do you have at 2? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
So at 2, I have Penn State, and I seriously considered putting them at number 1 because of, again, something we talked about on after the playoff. I don't remember what day it was at this point. Thursday, was that? Is that right? Was it Thursday night that
yes,
we recorded?
Thursday
Okay.
evening, yes.
Sorry, it's all a blur. It's been a holiday week. Like I'm lucky. We're lucky I showed up this morning for the podcast because I barely know it's Monday. But when I look at Penn State, one of the things that still stands out to me is they've been dominant through 2 rounds. And granted, you could argue that they played the two weakest opponents to this point, but you can also say that I don't think Penn State's played their best football in either of those games. Like, I don't think the offense has played at the caliber we've seen it play in the Big Ten championship game and at other points in the season. The defense is playing really well. Should get Abdul Carter back. So, like, I'm really high on this Penn State team. It's just when I see Ohio State, which we'll get to in a second, like, I just think that the ceiling that Ohio State can reach might still be higher than Penn State's.
I'm right there with you. I've got Penn State at 2 and Ohio State at 1. Penn State has been the steadiest team in college football. They're more steadier than Oregon, which was
Yeah.
just a cream puff, just a cream puff of stupid, dumb uniforms.
Yeah,
Good.
looking back, I don't know how they beat Ohio State, like,
No,
honestly.
I mean it was an odds, and that's probably why.
I mean, probably. You're 100% right.
So I think that Penn State can definitely win the national title. They had the easiest pathway of playing SMU and Boise State, and now they got to play Notre Dame, or they would have had to play a very beat up Georgia.
Mhm.
That serves them. They're playing with a lot of confidence. They basically pushed Oregon to the brink in Indianapolis. Drew Aller's playing phenomenally. He may reconsider and turn pro. I think the opportunity there. I think at this point, like if he does, he'd be one of 4 first-round quarterbacks joining Cam Ward. Shout out going to Tennessee, probably.
Yeah.
Shore Sanders. We'll see what happens, and Jalen Milroe, which I would feel very confident all three are going to be first-round picks.
I'm less confident on Milroe. I think that there is some still I frankly I don't think he should have come out. I think Jalen Milroe should have stayed another year at Alabama, and I think teams are going to dock him for that. I still think he's a day 2 pick. Like, I don't think he's gonna like slip precipitously. Like, he's probably gonna be a top 50 pick if we're being honest. But like, I just have a hard time seeing him going in the first round right now.
Yeah, most mocks, it's like the day 2 picks are like Beck and Ewers declares. It's kind of like
Mhm.
they're going to be somewhere in the second and third round range. Beck obviously has to work back from injuries, and they're going to look at Ewers' MRIs and be like, you have no sinew left in your entire body.
Your collarbones are paper mache.
And that didn't stop John Elway, who apparently didn't have like a UCL. He just kept going.
I mean, honestly, respect to John Elway. Like, he's just out here doing it.
They don't make him like John Elway or Nolan Ryan anymore, do they?
God, no, absolutely not. They don't make him anything close.
No, but I go back to this. So if Aller's gonna have to ask him, his representation is gonna have to ask him this one question. It's like, how do you feel about playing for the New York effing Giants?
And he's going to stay at Penn State, just like I would.
I can't believe they brought Joe Shane and Brian Dable back, and also they brought Chris Ballard back because apparently if you just poop on some paper, you can still keep your job for 6 figures in the NFL. God,
It's it's tough. I did not foresee that coming. Honestly, like, shouts to the Jags for getting rid of Doug Peterson, but you kept Trent Baalke, who I think is actually the problem more so than, like, I don't think
yeah,
Doug Peterson's a great coach, but I think he's a fine coach. Trent Baalke's a horrendous GM. We have years and years of track record just to show that.
yeah. I want to see if my team's going to keep their GM too. Yeah, it's been Dirty Bird Nation Twitter's having a day. Yeah, they want to fire Raheem
Yeah.
Morris, that's not happening.
Yeah.
I better see Jimmy Lake gone before my hair dries. And
Yeah, Jimmy Lake getting diced up by Bryce Young, get his defense getting diced up by Bryce Young the day before Black Monday was probably not great for his job security.
well, also the fact that Ryan Nielsen and Jeff Ulbrich are available, just bring either one of them back.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, then you're hoping that the Cowboys do something, but Jerry's going to make it about him. He's going to have a whole special press conference tomorrow, I'm sure.
Dude, it's already been all about him. There was a report last night that said something to the effect of like Jerry, people would want to, I think it was Jane Slater, who's been
Yeah,
in Dallas media for a long time and now is national media, but still has really good ties with the Cowboys. And she apparently got into it talking to Jerry Jones when he was speaking to the media because she was like, do you think this is an attractive job? And he was like, yeah, I think everyone wants to coach the Cowboys. And she was like pushing back on that because, you have to deal with Jerry. And like, that's a hard thing to address to Jerry Jones is, well, dealing with you makes this not an attractive job. Like, it's just an S show out there.
she's having a great time with her alma mater. She's having a bad.
Yeah.
She's having a bad time with the NFL team she covers. I can't
The
do a
Cowboys
star.
are horns down, bro. Like, that's where the Cowboys are at.
Yes, they're one of the stars on your. That's what you're doing. You gotta. it's a Dallas Cowboys field, and then there's just the blood and the sacrifice that all the players have made for Jerry Jones over the years, and he hasn't done a damn thing.
That's right. Yeah, we haven't got anything to show for it, but a lot of
Yeah.
sacrifices.
Okay, to put a bow on this with the four teams, we got through that really quickly. I was trying to
Yeah.
like stall a little bit to give us a little more time.
I mean, I can opine on Ohio State a little bit, just real quick, like because
Yeah,
like we have them as our number one team, and like I'm still do like I think one of the interesting things about the four teams that are in here is like I still don't trust any of these four. Like I think if Ohio State plays like they did in the first two games, they're a national champion. But I think when I look at all these four, like they have shown me flaws throughout the season. Like Penn State has been anemic on offense still at times. Ohio State has been, I don't know if it's playing with their food. I don't know if it's just not up to the challenge. I don't know if it's just not getting yourself like motivated for these games, but we've seen them have letdown performances already this year. We've also seen Notre Dame lose to Northern Illinois. We've seen that they are limited in what they can do offensively. And then we have a is that everyone? Oh no, and then we have Texas, who I've already talked
it's
about, playing with their food and not living up to their talent either. Kind of like a very similar mold to what Ohio State did for a lot of the year, except we haven't seen Texas fully break out of that yet. But I think Ohio State having broken out of that and having seen their ceiling, it's if they play like that the next two games, like they're gonna win the national championship. And frankly, I don't think it's going to be very close.
Here's a great way to look at it. So we got the Cotton Bowl. We got the two high variance teams. I think they can go really high and they can play with their
Yeah.
food and mess around.
Picking
And
that
then
game is already like throwing my brain into a blender because I can't get that out of my head. I'm like, okay, well, obviously, based on what we've seen in the playoff, you've got to pick Ohio State. But
right.
then I'm like, if I pick Ohio State and Texas, a team who I've been high on the entire year, plays up to their ceiling and beats Ohio State, I'm going to feel like the biggest dumbass in the entire world.
Dude, I was doing that with Georgia. You just emo hedge. You'll feel fine. Just pick Ohio State and move on. You'll be okay.
That's
That's
right.
and then you have the two steadiest teams, which proved out to be Penn State and Notre Dame. Penn State's got the higher ceiling there. So we're looking at probably a Big Ten championship game. And the Joel Klatts of the world are going to slobber about it. I'm like, dude, you played for a Big 12 school.
Dude, 100%. It's
Uh,
oh
yeah,
God, Joel.
I've got just a soapbox I'm going to go on here in a little bit about the Big Ten SEC in a little bit. I know you're more a little bit less colored by the thing because you're an ACC guy, so that's
Yeah.
fair. But at the end of the day, when it comes to me taking Ohio State over Penn State, does James Franklin beat somebody he's an underdog against? No. And I think if Ohio
No.
State were to face Penn State in Atlanta, Ohio State would be favored by four, probably.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame opened as the favorite against Penn State. I haven't looked at the line today, but I mean, they opened as a favorite over Penn State. So, I mean, that tells you what the market thinks of Penn State. Not sure if I agree, but that's what the market thinks.
Well, the good part is I get to be, objective and subjective. I don't know the difference of that, but I get to be that, not a Georgia homer. So that's going to be really great. For
100%, dude. That'll be good. That'll be good.
But I'll be a Georgia homer later here. But we're gonna move on to our next topic because it don't mean enough there in Austin, Texas. Apparently, I think it was Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, one of the other good people at Fox Sports. Apparently, good dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. I think the NFL guys, that they're in their own separate thing.
Yes, 100%.
But yeah, like Steve Sarkisian's been tied to head coaching opportunities right now, right this instant, coming up on 10 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Mountains, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. I don't really care what the other time zones because I can't go that far. I have no idea what time it is in the Greenwich, England, but it's there's a time over there. It's almost that's almost top of that hour there.
That's right. Yeah, shouts to the Prime Meridian.
It dictates time. I mean, it's important.
We love it. We love it.
Yeah, but so there's five head coaching vacancies in the NFL. Obviously, we've had the Jets, the Saints, and the Bears open for a while. We've also saw yesterday evening the Patriots open up. Gerard Mayo got a raw deal. I think Robert Kraft's brain is a Kraft single that's been left out in the rain.
Oh yeah,
Like,
100%. Yeah,
yeah, they screwed that man horribly. I feel so bad for Gerard Mayo.
I mean, like, yeah, they screwed him. I don't think I'm kind of in between the two. I don't think he's a good coach, but I also think he got screwed. Like both things can be true.
Yes, I think that's absolutely fair. And then obviously Doug Peterson was let go in Jacksonville this morning. Right this instant, Shane Steichen's safe in Indianapolis. Mike McDaniel is safe in Miami. Brian Dable is safe for some reason in New York. We haven't heard anything out of Cincinnati or Dallas yet.
Yeah, so we'll see on those two cases. I think I'm wondering, and I wrote about Gerard Mayo replacements yesterday afternoon, and I'm wondering if Sark is like an outside candidate for that job because you think about what Sark does well. You think about Sark as a quarterback developer. It's one of the reasons Arch went to Texas was to go be developed under Sarkisian. And you think about his offensive schematics and you think about the hires that the Patriots have had, whether when it was, Bill Belichick, a defensive mind, and then Gerard Mayo, a defensive mind. You look at that and I wonder, are they looking for a philosophy change? I think Mike Vrabel's probably choice A, but if Mike Vrabel doesn't has another opportunity that he prefers to going back to the Patriots, then potentially Sarkisian could be the breath of fresh air that they need. You have a young quarterback in Drake May that he can work with and develop with. You kind of have carte blanche in terms of how you can build the roster because it's so devoid of talent, but you have high draft picks and a ton of cap space. I think that would be an interesting spot for Sarkisian.
I would agree there. I think Vrabel's the top choice. I think he used New York Jets as leverage.
Mm-hmm.
If
Oh
it's
yeah.
not going to be Vrabel there, and if it's not Sark, I think Cliff Kingsbury is a candidate there as well because he played there and
Mm-hmm.
he's obviously knows how to develop quarterbacks and everything like that. Cardinals ownership's a little wonky, so maybe he could
Yeah.
make it work there. But I feel like it's got to be Vrabel there in New England.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. I mean, Vrabel was number one on that list. I'm not, I don't have my head in the sand about that.
The weird thing is also like I think the Jacksonville job is probably the most attractive of all of
It's
these
weird, man. Yeah.
it's the roster's not horrible. It's just Trent Baalke is difficult to work with,
Yeah.
and I thought that like I wrote something for fan sites like could Steve Sarkisian potentially coach Ewers or Manning in the NFL. And I mean, what's wrong with like him taking the Jags job, coaching Trevor Lawrence, drafting Quinn Ewers in the second or third round, and then eventually you go there.
Yeah.
I think the day and age of him coaching Arch in the NFL, like that bridge is burned. Like the Mannings will say, well, F you, Steve. We're never gonna go there because they know how to cross people off forever. They're
Yeah,
very
no,
spiteful.
and I mean that's the what I wrote about in the aftermath of the report that Sarkisian was going to potentially going to the NFL. If he does, Arch is gone because Sark
Yeah.
is the reason Arch went to Texas.
Yeah.
He has like a little bit of Texas fandom according to him. I whenever a recruit says that, I don't buy it, frankly,
No.
especially when you're a Louisiana kid whose uncles went to Tennessee and Ole Miss, and like your lineage is in the SEC. I just have a hard time seeing you being a Texas fan growing up like that. But
Yeah.
regardless, he went to Sarkisian. It seems like a Manning decision to me because you know what Sark is as a quarterback developer. You know what his offense is. You know that it's going to be profitable for you in the long run if you go and you do this. So if he leaves, I think Arch Manning, who just last week was saying I'm staying at Texas, I think he changes that statement if Sarkisian leaves.
If he does, pretty good for me. I feel like Georgia was the runner-up to Texas. That was the place I figured he would go to.
They've got
I've
a
also
opening
they've
like
got two.
yeah. Yeah.
And then you also have the other options would be Alabama. I mean, that was more about Saban than Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah.
You wonder if the Mannings could get past the late Kiffin of it all. Ole Miss could work. I feel that's easy, safe. Michigan, Ohio State may need a quarterback, and Miami may need one.
Yeah. I mean, there's I mean, yeah, it's going to be heavy hitters only if he does hit the portal. There's no question about it.
Do you think he would go anywhere besides do you think he would go to a Big Ten school? I feel like that's the one league where I feel like that's a little bit out there. Like the ACC, you'd have like the Clemsons and the SMUs could be a player for him,
Mhm.
theoretically.
Yeah, I think Clemson, SMU definitely, if he wanted to stay in the state of Texas, I could see Ohio State more than I could Michigan.
Yeah,
I think if Jim Harbaugh was still at Michigan, then we might be having a different conversation. Even
yeah.
though it wouldn't be an offense to necessarily showcase Arch, just like we saw with JJ McCarthy previously, but I think that the pedigree and the pro readiness that would get you ready for, I think would be attractive. With Sharon Moore, I'm not sure that we see that totally, so I don't think that would be attractive. I could see Ohio State though, just because of the pro quarterbacks that they have produced in recent years, because of the offense that is going to showcase what Arch Manning is capable of, because he's going to be in an advantageous situation playing for the next 2 years with Jeremiah Smith. That would probably help your draft stock, I would potentially say. So I think that I mean everything about the Manning family is calculated, and so that's part of the calculation is okay, we have 2 years as a starter. Who's going to give us the best chance to actually prove ourselves as the number one pick in the NFL draft? And it'd be foolish not to consider Ohio State in that equation.
Yeah, because I mean, Will Howard's going to turn pro. After that, it's like, okay, is it a Julian Sayin, I guess, at that
Yeah,
point, or
because
no,
Aaron Nolan's at South Carolina now. So like,
Devin Brown can't really throw the football. I don't
yeah,
really know what else they're doing. Yeah, I was just looking for places that have potential openings. We're like,
yeah.
Tennessee would be great, but Nico's there, and he's
Hmm.
better than Nico, but that's that Jimmy Haslam paid him a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, the funniest possible destination is Auburn. Hugh Freeze and Arch Manning getting after it.
Oh, I didn't even consider Auburn. Yeah, but Andy and Ari had Auburn as their top 10 team heading into next year.
That's a choice. They may be in my top 25. Top 10 is a little rich for my blood.
No, like the top six are pretty straightforward. I mean, I forget
Yeah.
what order it was. It's like Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, and like
Yeah.
Texas. It's like
I think
yes,
Texas was number one, which
yeah, yeah.
that could change pretty quickly given the conversation we're currently having.
And then South Carolina was really high.
Mhm.
There's another SEC school. Florida was really high too.
Yeah. I mean, I can assure you I will be high on South Carolina and Florida. Higher than
Yeah,
Auburn, that's for sure.
for sure. Because Auburn sucks and we're driving a truck. But so I think if Sarkisian gets a job, I think the Jacksonville job or Dallas is probably the two that I would go to
Mhm.
because I would venture to guess Aaron Glenn's going to get his choice between the Jets and the Saints.
Yeah, I absolutely think that's where we're headed with Aaron Glenn. I would I would lean Saints. I think that makes some sense. I will say Sarkisian for the Jets job, if they move on from Aaron Rodgers, makes a lot of sense because you're probably going to be drafting some like that's where that could be your Quinn Ewers, Steve Sarkisian pairing. You draft Quinn Ewers in the second round, and you're able to as the Jets, like I think that puts you in a pretty nice position moving forward.
I don't think Ben Johnson leaves. First off, I think again, I'm a huge critic of him. I don't know why. I feel like it's kind of just being set up on a golden platter for him there in Detroit in a lot of ways. I kind of feel like he has to go to a place where like, oh, the coach retires, everything's good. If he goes somewhere like, I don't know if he's gonna have the force of personality of Dan Campbell to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, and then like that's the big question. I do think that what he's getting out of Jared Goff, what he's getting out of like, he had a lot of advantages coming into the season. Some of those advantages are gone. Like having David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in your backfield, that's an advantage. Well, now you don't have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs comes out and just, you know, S's all over. I'm about curse, but just craps all over the Vikings defense, which has been quite good all season
Yeah.
to clinch the division. So like I have a lot of respect for Ben Johnson, but I mean that's always the dangerous part when you're hiring any coordinator is you don't know what they're going to be when they have to build a culture and lead a room.
There is one job I would leave if I was him. If the Bengals open up, I'd go there immediately.
Oh
That's the
yeah,
that's the best job.
dude, watching Ben Johnson with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is that makes my heart happy.
He'll go in there and Mike Brown. It's a Kitty Blackburn. It's your team now, babe.
Yeah, baby.
Oh no. And then I think Todd Monken's a candidate. I think for Jacksonville and probably Chicago for
Yeah,
the
I would like him in Chicago. I think him
yeah.
working with Caleb would be really interesting. And I think also like I think Chicago just needs an adult in the room. Like legitimately, like they need someone who's been around the block, which Monken obviously has been around multiple styles of winning cultures. Like the culture that John Harbaugh has in Baltimore is not the same culture that Kirby Smart has in Athens. Like those are two very different things. And like he had some success down in Tampa as well. So like I just think that Todd Monken I think he is a really good hire for Chicago, and I think potentially it may not have the upside that Ben Johnson would, but I think it has a lower or a higher floor as well.
I mean, Southern Miss hasn't been the same since he left.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's good. And I guess like the last question I've kind of got here about Sarkisian being tied to NFL jobs. So yours it can go either way. Like doesn't really matter. This doesn't really impact him either way. Like he
Yeah.
could stay or go or transfer. It doesn't matter. This would impact Arch Manning considerably. Like that would completely burn the bridge forever. Some scorched earth Manningeddon, I guess.
Yeah.
Peyton's head might explode.
Oh yeah, 100%. Which, watch out. Everyone duck when that happens.
Toot, toot. So let's just say if Sarkisian were to leave for Texas, I guess the two questions is like, what does that mean for the program, and who would be on your short list to potentially replace him?
So what it means for the program, I think it's kind of I think it's kind of indicative of what we've seen, like the conversation with Ryan Day before the Heat really got turned up the past couple years, where oh, he's a candidate for NFL jobs. I think it just means like he wants to coach in the NFL, and like I don't think it's an indictment of Texas. Like if you're at a program like Texas, like Ohio State, like Alabama, or wherever, and you leave for the NFL, it's because you want to coach in the NFL because you're
Right.
set up for life if you're in that coaching rank. Like that's just where you want to be. So like if that's the case, that's no fault of Texas. Like so I think we both agree. Sarkisian has done a phenomenal job at Texas, getting Texas back to a point of national relevance for two straight. Like he has this thing in a way that they're going to continue being nationally relevant, which hasn't been Texas for almost 2 decades at this point. So like the fact that he's got them there, like I don't see why he would, want to get away from Texas if he didn't want to just go to the NFL. In terms of replacements, I haven't actually thought too hard about it, but my first instinct is Jeff Choate. I would really like to see Jeff Choate there because, like, I think he did a phenomenal job with the defense when he was there. He obviously knows a lot of what worked with Sark, but I also think that if you try to mimic what Sark was and hire like another offensive guru quarterback developer, there's a good chance that flames out because, like, we've seen when you try to do that one for one replacement that it doesn't always work out.
Yeah. If if Sark were to leave, they would go back to a transitional period. They would no longer be back. They'd be good. They'd be relevant. They kind of be like where Alabama is under Kalen DeBoer trying to
Yeah.
find its footing. You're absolutely right in the sense that like Texas is in that tier of like 15 to 20 jobs where like you don't leave.
Yeah.
I would say that the lower end of that is like Auburn is
Yeah.
probably it's like Auburn, Oregon, Michigan State. Washington's just outside of that because you will leave. But everything else is
Yeah.
like if you're at like LSU, if you're at Oklahoma, unless you're Lincoln Riley or USC, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, like you don't leave really. It just
Yeah. No.
those you made it at that point.
Yeah. Like, again, you leave if you want to go to the NFL. You don't leave for another college job.
I do like the Jeff Choate idea there. I think some guy who's seen the winning and how it works there in Texas. Honestly, just go get Lane.
I
I think
mean,
Lane's up there for me.
Lane would make the content. Lane would be magic in Texas, dude. Like everything's bigger in Texas, including Lane's personality. So like that would be some incredible ass right there.
I feel like you got to go for a current head coach, like
Yeah.
because it's too big, it'll eat you alive. And I don't see any UT alum out there who's like really ready for it, like Kirby Smart was. I just don't even like I don't even know who you'd get like at that point.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I have no idea. Like my the dumb thought that I had was just hire Mac Brown.
Or Matthew McConaughey, and I guess you can't hire Emmanuel Acho.
Not anymore. No, not anymore.
No. Uncomfortable conversations with the Fox Sports host. Jesus.
HR is working overtime this morning.
HR's working overtime this morning. I'm gonna try to find like one more candidate, just somebody like spitball, because I just kind of came to me. So if it's not Cho and if it's not Lane, if we really need to add,
I
um,
have an outside the box one.
go ahead.
Coach Sig.
You know what? That's better than my outside the box one, which is Matt Rule.
Okay. Yeah, I actually don't hate the rule one either, but Coach Sig, like I know he just signed an extension, but you're Texas, man. If you want the money, if
Yeah,
you want to get the money, you can get the money. And so like I think Coach Sig, with his ability to keep things like well, Indiana, just take things to places that they've literally never been in Bloomington immediately with the transfer portal. Like I just think that he is with the resources that Texas has, it could be pretty dangerous for the rest of the SEC.
that would be that would be insane. Yeah, Sig and Kiff just ripping
Oh
it,
my
man.
God. I would pray to God that they would do like Marlboro Man type promos, but for Coach Sig, like he's just like dressed in a cowboy like Sam Darnold's grandfather and just going out there, man.
What if Sam Darnold had a dick hammer last night after getting smoked? Looked like Lynn Dawson at halftime. Just like, man, we got our ass kicked.
Yeah, my guy was out there seeing ghosts again, it kind of looked like.
Yeah, it did. And I don't know if you could see ghosts in the portal, but let's talk portal to me with the next thing. This is going to be a really good segment here. So, the Branch brothers with Zachariah and Zion Branch committed to Georgia right after the Falcons got eliminated from the playoffs, which was, a nice pick me up. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
I really
needed that.
appreciate it.
Needed that.
Justice Haynes finally committed to Michigan. Like the paperwork, I don't know, got lost in the mail, the holidays. That was weird. Looking like Takario Davis is leaning towards Washington. Texas A&M wide receiver Noah Thomas is in the portal. Utah State running back Rasul Faison's in there. Tulane running back Makai Hughes was. Then he wasn't, but it was paperwork and clerical, so he's back in. Squirrel White's now at FSU, and two other quarterbacks have changed, which is very interesting with Jaron QA Sagapolatelli, so you call him JKS, and the Joe Clash Show. And Jaden Rashada is leaving Georgia. So where do you want to start? Any of these pique your interest?
Let's kind of go. Let's just do like a Georgia at all topic with the Branch brothers and Jaden Rashada. So I'll start with the Branch brothers. I think this is huge for Georgia. I know USC fans are down on Zachariah Branch, saying that he wasn't, the prince that was promised or whatever. I think that's a Lincoln Riley problem, man. I think USC fans are still a little bit in denial about that, and like I think that one of the things that we could always bank on was Lincoln Riley having a great offense. Well, I don't think we can bank on that anymore. I think people might have figured it out a little bit, and he hasn't adjusted. So I still think Zachariah Branch is a difference maker. I said after the quarterfinals that one of my big takeaways about Georgia is like not having difference makers hurts you, and it hurt them this season. Like it was one of the reasons why Beck went through his cold spell. It was one of the reasons why Gunnar Stockton was not able to do much even when he made good plays. Like he hit Dylan Bell with a perfect ball and it hit Dylan Bell right in the hands. And like Dylan Bell was not supposed to be in that role. That probably should have been Colby Young, but Colby Young had some off the field issues. Getting Zachariah Branch in there is absolutely huge. Then you throw in Zion Branch. Zion Branch and KJ Bolden patrolling the secondary as safeties. Like that sounds like a Kirby Smart special to me. And I like building from that spot, giving Kirby Smart's background.
So Zion's a grade above Zachariah. I believe
Mhm.
Zion's 4 years. This will be Zachariah Branch's third year. So I think they've got 2 years of eligibility left. I think a pair. I think that's how
Yeah,
you would look at
I think
that.
that's right.
So you look at Zion Branch as essentially like a replacement for Malachi Starks in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking at Zachariah Branch as essentially Dominic Lovett replacement, sort of.
Yeah, honestly, he is a bet to me. He's a better version of Arian Smith with the
Okay.
like game changing speed, the ability to like. I think he catches the ball better. He doesn't drop the ball as much as Arian Smith
No.
does. But you can also use him in gadgety ways. Like you can give him like touches out of the backfield. You can send him on deep routes. Like I think just the versatility that he offers is very Arian Smith like. But I think he's just a better player than Arian Smith.
Yeah, Aaron Smith was like tremendously explosive, but like there were so many times like catch the damn ball,
Dude, 100%.
Bobo run the damn ball. I mean, if these guys could just catch the ball, we still be playing,
I
man.
mean, I will say something I had forgotten about is, and my hero Bud Elliott, brought this up, but like it's something I hadn't realized until he said it, or I hadn't thought about. But like, you look at this receiving core, and it becomes more that Georgia had, and it's more obvious that they were really banking on having Colby Young and Ra Thomas for this
Yeah,
group, and like not having them, you're forcing Dylan Bell and Arian Smith into roles that are bigger than frankly those players should probably be in. Like Dominic Lovett was always going to be a big part, but like
yeah,
Dominic Lovett looks like a lot different player when you have a Colby Young out there, when you have a Ra Thomas out there.
precisely. You got to replace Brock Bowers at tight end. You got to replace Ladd McConkey at wide receiver. You got to replace Marcus Resme Jackson. Like those are like three pieces that like
Yeah.
just just effing champions. That's what they
Yeah,
were. And then
100%.
you saw guys like Lawson Lucky really grow. You saw Oscar Delp get better as the season go on. You saw Benjamin Yursek play for Georgia.
Yeah, he was there, man.
And then Etienne was banged up for a lot of the year. Obviously,
Mhm.
Kobe Young had some legal issues. I think those have been all sorted out. He'll be back next year, I think, is how
Yeah.
that shakes out. London Humphreys just didn't have the body ready for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, obviously the speed's there. Go in the weight room, just lift.
This is a 45. Throw it on the bar.
We're gonna give you the Sean Bradley milkshakes.
Dude's gonna be drinking nothing but chocolate milk and protein shakes.
Also, the fact Tate Ratledge was hurt, that was a
Yeah.
problem. Obviously, Dylan Fairchild played really good at guard. Monroe Freeland had to be put in an elevated spot. He got his lunch ate. Xavier Truss was great, but he had some injuries, so it just teams beat up. So I guess maybe losing special teams coach fourth quarter Scott Cochran, yeah, that was a problem.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's okay. And so now we'll go to the negative side of Georgia. Like I like the Branch brothers. I think that's really big for what Georgia needs to do at the next level. Jaden Rashada, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought it was weird that he went to Georgia in the first place because I didn't see the path of how we were going to get anywhere with that. Because you're coming in, you obviously essentially like replace Brock Vandegrift with him, but like I don't know. It just seemed like an odd fit for Jaden Rashada to begin with. Jaden Rashada's recruitment has been anything but normal, so that part of it is not shocking. But like it is like I don't know. It looks more dire than I think I really feel it is in my heart of hearts because like now Georgia's losing two quarterbacks in the offseason. You have to hit the portal and you have to replace one of those, at least one of those. But at the same time, like I didn't think this was Jaden Rashada's team. I thought this was going to be Gunnar Stockton's team or Ryan Puglisi's team down the road. Like Jaden Rashada just seemed like an ill fit in that quarterback room.
Yeah, the Brock Vandegrift of it all is just it became very apparent like because remember Gunnar Stockton was not originally going to go to Georgia. He was going to go to South Carolina to
Right.
play for Bobo. Obviously, Will Muschamp got fired. They bring him in, and then that made it that much more possible. Gunnar Stockton, believe it or not, can actually play. There were things that
Yeah.
he did there in the Sugar Bowl. I'm like, okay, he can make this work. He didn't look like a lost puppy as much as Beck did. Remember when Beck was first playing? It was just like, oh,
Oh
dude.
yeah. 100%. Like back in week 1 of 2023 was a lot different than back in week 12 of 2023. Like those were two different players.
And I will say though, like Bobo gets a lot of crap dumped on him. He does develop quarterbacks
Oh
pretty
yeah.
well. And I mean, we saw what happened like when it was Jim Chaney or James Coley. Well, James Coley's back there kind of with wide receivers and everything like that.
Not
But
coaching
like,
quarterbacks though. So
no. But like, it's he will get better and everything like that. But I guess like the big thing is they really like Ryan Puglisi. That's a very they like that he didn't like play flirt with him like Dylan Raiola. He's like, I'm from like the Northeast. I want to play here. Yeah, I'm hurt. I'm gonna work my way back and earn the opportunity. I mean, he didn't appear in any games this year, but like neither did Rashada. Maybe Kirby did right by Rashada. It's like, you know what? You just need a year just to chill, relax, just kind of get it
yeah.
going and reset it. Because being his Miami, Florida, Arizona State, all over the place, trying to go play for your
Lawsuit.
dad's lawsuit, playing for your dad's alma mater when that was the dire straits there. That's tough.
Yeah.
I thought Cal would be a really good place for him, but then we saw
Mm,
JKS go there. That was the
yeah.
place that I thought Rashada would go. And with JKS going to Cal, that signifies Georgia's going to be getting somebody else because that was the guy Georgia signed on too.
Yeah, no, I think honestly my read is that Georgia is okay. I'm trying to think of how to qualify this because like I have a very clear vision. It's just hard for me to like formulate words for it. But like if there is not like a ready-made option to start that is available to Georgia in the portal, which I would be looking at a Quinn Ewers type or an Arch Manning type, like if one of those guys isn't in the portal after we get out of the college football playoff, then I suspect that we're only really looking at a depth piece. Because like you said, Gunnar Stockton is talented. Gunnar Stockton had moments in that Notre Dame game where it was like, okay, maybe the moment is too big for him because this is your first start. Like that's a big moment. Like I don't fault the kid for not being ready for the moment because it's not a like he hasn't even had smaller moments. Like he's just thrust into this huge moment. So like I still think he got better as the game went on. I still think he showed a lot that you can develop and that you can bank on moving forward, especially if the situation around him improves, which I think it's on the track of doing that with the Branch brothers. So I think you're looking at a depth piece to like compete with Puglisi for the backup job. I if people remember, like they are extremely high on Puglisi. They have been for a long time. Like when Dylan Raiola, decommitted from Georgia and flipped to Nebraska, they were like, okay, fine, we have Ryan Puglisi. Like we don't care, and like that was Dylan Raiola, like a 5-star, supposed to be a savior. So the fact that they see Puglisi in that light, like I think they're confident enough in that to just bring in depth.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking because you're going to end up in that same quagmire you've had with the Vandegrift and the Stockton. This is a way to kind of like spread it out a little bit. Like if Stockton's not good, okay, we'll see if Puglisi can play. If they got to figure it out, you can actually be in hot pursuit of some guy coming out of high school. You can be an active player in the transfer portal. You're not, you're giving yourself like you're not going to have to redo this again.
No, 100%. It's I think it would be a nice reset for them because like I think that I this isn't I this doesn't I don't mean this as a shot at him, but like Stetson Bennett was around for a lot longer than I think
Yeah.
people realized.
Yeah, he played at Georgia for 5 of his 6 years, and
That's
had to go
right.
to junior college. So looking across some of the other teams, players we have on here, again, we talked on Takario Davis leaning kind of towards Washington. We'll see what happens there. Um, Okay, let's talk about I guess Noah Thomas and Squirrel White briefly, like the receivers and stuff like that. So Noah Thomas is a guy leaving A&M. Georgia's been tied to him. I figure that like maybe he goes to like Oregon or Arizona State, the guys who kind of missed out on the Branch brothers.
Yeah.
I feel like they're kind of looking for the same sort of thing.
No, I think that would make a lot of sense. Also think Texas can make some sense if he wanted to stay in the state of Texas. Like I think Texas would make sense there as well because you're going to lose Isaiah Bond and totally blank on the other one they're going to lose, but they're going to lose two of their receivers from this year's. So like I
Bond,
do.
Bold, Golden. So
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah, I think it is Matthew Golden if I'm not mistaken. And actually Silas Bolden is gone too because he's been playing for like 6 years. But regardless, Texas can use a wide receiver, and if he wants to
yes.
stay in the state of Texas, like I think, like it's going to be heavy hitters only. This is a talented player who I think just was kind of an ill fit in the Texas A&M offense. So like you're going to greener pastures. We saw some, like I think he's going to be a coveted commodity. Squirrel White to FSU. What are you doing, man? Like if you're Mike Norvell, great get. If you're Mike Norvell, I think you're doing a good job of trying to fix whatever the hell went wrong in 2 and 10. Like you're trying to fix whatever the hell that was. But if you're Squirrel White, it just feel like I don't know, man. This feels like a very I don't know. Like unless the NIL money was too good to pass up, too good to pass up. Like I feel like this is an odd decision for him, even in relation to staying at Tennessee.
Yeah, like it's like a lateral move, maybe minus NIL. I mean, like you're going to a team that competes at the same level, but coming off a much worse season, the inverse of
Yeah,
what you experienced there in Knoxville. I will say though, I am starting to get a little concerned about Heupel's offense. I mean, I've been thinking about
yeah,
this. I think that like we've been chasing the Hendon Hooker high the whole time, or what Dylan Gabriel was at UCF prior to that. But like Joe Milton like looked better in this offense than Nico at times. Joe Milton like would just throw it like 1,000 miles an hour, but like there wasn't this like napalm induced fear in his eyes
yeah.
every snap. I think Squirrel White's just kind of realizing like, look, if I want to go to the NFL, I got to play in an offense that's just not like the Lincoln Logs of a route tree.
No, 100%. I mean, it in that capacity, it is good for his development. But again, like I like Thomas Castellanos as a player, but like, is he going to save the Florida State offense? I'm
No.
not quite sure. I don't think so. But like, I don't know. Like, I just, your point of wanting to develop better for the pros is definitely well taken, and I think valid. But I also think that if you're going to do that, there's a lot of other places other than Florida State I'd be headed.
Yeah, I'd go to Ohio State. I go hang out with Brian Hartline. I think he knows how to do that better than anybody else. I mean,
Exactly. I mean, they're going to lose Emeka Egbuka. They're going to lose, I believe, Carnell Tate as well. So like,
yeah,
there's openings.
for sure. I think like maybe it's the development thing because I believe Gus Malzahn and Mike Novella are former like receivers. So that's like their
Yeah.
area is a specialty. But like
Oh God, I
let's
forgot. I'd already forgotten about the guest bus being there.
let's run, boys. You're squirrel running, boy.
That makes me hate it even more because they're not going to throw the ball.
Oh God, it's gonna be unbelievable.
Oh God. Let me
No,
tell you who's not going to be in my preseason top 25. Florida State. I'm not
no,
making that mistake again.
no, no, we're not. And then I guess looking around here at the last little bit of stuff, let's talk to running backs here with Haynes, Faison, and Hughes. Any reason you think that that like Haynes took that long? Like we were kind of in limbo and it was pending for like a week and a half. It was weird.
I mean, there's two options. One is honestly the simplicity of what you mentioned that it was the holidays, paperwork was moving slow, but like he was fully committed. Like it could be as simple as that. Like the clerical team at Michigan was just not working for the holidays. Like, cool. I take your PTO.
I got it. I got to figure it out.
What you got?
They played in the Reliant Quest Bowl against each other. They couldn't do it. I think maybe I'm thinking
That
like that
actually,
optically that's really terrible. Do you want to be Scott Satterfield or not?
yeah, like standing on the Michigan sideline while you're playing against the team you just spent the entire season.
Okay, I think that's actually it. In
That actually
retrospect.
makes a lot of sense. Yes, yes, it does.
And then obviously moving on to Rasul Faison and Makai Hughes. Faison was the running back at Utah State. Hughes is at Tulane. are we looking at guys like them potentially going P4?
So I think with Hughes specifically, yes, we definitely are. He took a visit to Oregon over the weekend, I believe, and would make a lot of sense for Oregon, quite frankly, with how they like to rotate backs. I think he's a nice, guy who can, he's not like a prototypical like third down change of pace back, but like someone who, with the way Oregon likes to change pace, just generally down to down with the running backs, I think he's someone who could fit into that mold really well. So I think he's a very useful player. So I definitely think that in the case of Hughes, he's definitely P4 bound. Faison, I'm not 100% sure. Um, I think it could be high G5 or low P4, but I don't think we're talking like the high levels of P4.
Gotcha. I think the high end programs would be like Oregon, Michigan, Ohio State, Ole Miss could probably use the running back. So
Yeah.
they again the options are there. And obviously if you're in a place that also Utah State had like the coaching changes too.
Mhm.
So I totally get moving out of there. It's been a really frustrating year there. In Logan for the Aggies. I feel like, just resetting it there with what they had to go through. I
Yeah.
totally understand that.
No, 100%. And in the case of Faison, like when I say lower level P4, I think like some places like SMU would make a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Like I think that, they struggled to run the ball, getting a little bit more juice in that backfield. You look at, honestly, in North Carolina, I don't hate that because you're
No.
losing Omarion Hampton. So like I think that would make a lot of sense. But like that's like not to, I am an ACC guy and not to crap on them too hard. But like when I say lower level P4, I mean like ACC or Big 12. That's kind of what I'm
Okay.
getting at.
Yeah, like that's an opportunity there. Like, SMU, North Carolina, Pitt. I
Yeah.
mean, Miami needs to replace Damian Martinez probably. So
Yes,
that's
Syracuse. I mean, Syracuse and Fran Brown, they need to replace the Quint Allen. So like, there's options there.
there are plenty of options here, and there are plenty of options here with our next segment. Yeah, make sure I got everybody on here. Let's do put a dude on a team. Is there any player you want to do today? I put down Jalen Milroe, Tetairoa, McMillan. If there's anybody else you'd rather do, let's just do that.
Honestly, let's just do those two because I think that's a very interesting. I think those are two very interesting conversations. Jalen Milroe, because we don't technically see eye to eye on where he's going to go in the draft. So like that's an interesting proposition in itself. And then Ted McMillan, out non-Travis Hunter division because we still don't know what, Travis Hunter is going to go to the NFL to play as wide receiver or cornerback. But Tetairoa McMillan is he's the number one wide receiver, pure wide receiver prospect. But when you look at the teams that are going to be picking in the top 10, which he is a top 10 prospect, no doubt about it, but you look at the teams picking the top 10, some of them need wide receivers, but I would also describe that as a secondary need, not a primary need, which makes him a really interesting, I think, case study.
Okay, so let's start with McMillan.
Okay.
Um, how do you want to do this? Just do like we both rattle off like three names and we work our
Yeah,
way back.
I think that works.
Okay, so with Tetairoa McMillan, the first name I think it was the Browns. I think that where
Mm,
they're picking, they got the quarterback thing. I don't think that they can realistically draft it with what the capital is. Like they could sign like Kirk Cousins for $1 million,
yeah.
figure out what the hell to do with Deshaun Watson, also Dove Clowney with one of the worst tweets of all time I've ever
Oh
seen.
my God.
uh,
I thought it was fake when I saw it. Like,
uh,
not the biggest fan of Dom to begin with, but that was a new one for me.
Twitter was popping off yesterday.
Yeah, I looked, whenever I see a tweet that I'm like, oh, this is bad. Like, why do we do this? One of my favorite things to do is to look at the impressions that it made. And that one, when I looked at it, was at like 4.1 million. So I was like, oh yeah, Dom, way to go, brother.
Yeah, I think the Browns is good. You've obviously Jimmy Haslam's smart. He's like, we're gonna keep the two best things that ever happened to us, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. Ken Dorsey to the curb. Yeah, that guy's shot. He needs to go coach in college.
No,
It's not
yeah.
work. Yeah, go back to the U.
Go back to the
Go.
U, baby.
But I think that like the Amari Cooper of it all, I think this is a guy that like again took a program that was really down on its luck in Arizona, made great plays with Noah Fafita. Obviously, the coaching change made a big difference, but he played in a pro style offense under Jed Fish.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a really good pick for the Browns. That's where I'm leaning with T Mac right now.
I don't hate the Browns pick. I would like it even more if they traded down for number two.
Yeah,
Like say the Raiders want to move up for a quarterback or the Giants want to move up for a quarterback, and like you kind of hold the keys there at number two. So like I think I would like it a lot more if they traded down. I'm not sure number two overall that I could totally get behind that, but like I do think the Browns are a good trade down candidate. So like I like that a lot. I'm gonna throw out, and this is kind of depending on how the board falls, I think, for them, but the Raiders, I think, would make a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Like the Raiders to me are the most likely team to bring in a veteran quarterback. Like I think that they're a prime Kirk Cousins destination if the Falcons do cut him, or even if they trade him. Like I think the Raiders would be in their best interest to get him in there. I think that you have Brock Bowers, who's obviously a very good weapon. You actually have a pretty decent offensive line. That's kind of one of the things that lies under the radar in Vegas is the quarterback play has been so bad, but it's not because of the offensive line. It's just because the quarterbacks are bad. But you get an adult in the room and you put them in a situation with Brock Bowers and Ted McMillan. Like, I don't hate that at all for the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders was a team I was considering. I feel like they're a Sam Darnold candidate. Also,
Mm-hmm.
like the Vikings, just trade JJ McCarthy. Like, who cares? Like, who cares? He's not that good, and it's I don't. There's Drew Aller's better. Every other quarterback, it was in the first round, like had varying degrees of success. We saw Penix play really well towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Drake May
Yeah.
survived. Daniels and
Drake May
Nix.
played well considering what he had to deal with.
Yes, and, Daniels and Nix had a fantastic rookie year, and Caleb Williams got humbled again.
Yeah, I mean, he got Eberflus and Waldron a little bit. I'm not gonna like make my final assessment on
No,
Caleb Williams based on
no.
that.
No, but like just trade for McCarthy or something like that. Like, be a player for one of the Vikings guys. I could see
Mhm.
that. Again, I think the Raiders just give Antonio Pierce one more year because this was with Telesco. Knows how to identify talent. They get
Yeah.
hurt all the time, so yeah, it's. I think that's a really good landing spot. Also, kind of in a similar area,
Hmm.
time zone, if you will, as Tucson with Las Vegas. If that'll work, I like that. I think I mean, I don't know all the draft order. I think the Patriots are a player too because like they already have Drake May. I think they drafted a receiver in the first round again, right? Or did
No,
they?
last year they
It was May. It was May.
yeah, it was May in the first round, and then they had the chance to pick McConkey, which was a mistake that they didn't do, traded back and ended up taking Jalen Polk, who had a
Oh yeah,
horrendous rookie year. So
yeah. So like, but I think like the Patriots are a player. Like they obviously don't need a quarterback. They could move back. I think they're probably the prime candidate to get Travis Hunter. I think that's the team
mhm.
that I have him there. But like. Again, if you move back further on the board, again, I don't know the draft board off the top of my head. I don't care. I was just
The
too
Pats
busy
are at
living my
four. I know the
Pats are at
Pats are at
four.
four. Yeah.
So yeah, like you could conceivably do that. So it goes. It's Tennessee one, Cleveland two,
Giants three.
Giants three, Pats
Pats
four.
four. I think Jags five, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and Raiders are eight, right?
Raiders are eight. Oh, wait, no. I'm getting the Jets winning yesterday through the draft like order that I had in my head
Yeah,
for a loop a little bit. So like the Jets kind of screwed things up. The
I'm
Jets are
gonna look this up because I don't think we know.
I
I don't
think
think.
we nailed the top five. I know I'm pretty 99% sure that we got the top five right.
Yes, Tennessee one, Cleveland two, Giants three, Patriots four, Jaguars five, Raiders six, Jets seven, Panthers eight, Saints nine, Bears 10, Niners 11, Cowboys 12, Dolphins 13, Colts 14, Falcons 15, Cardinals 16, Bengals 17, Seahawks 18. Those are the only ones that are set.
Okay.
Okay, so we got the Patriots, we got the Browns, we got the Raiders. Who else do you want to throw in there for T-Mac?
I'm gonna go Homer pick, and I'm gonna say the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Uh there's not any secondary weapons on this team outside of CD Lamb. There's just not. And I think Ted McMillan would be a perfect complement for that. CD Lamb is phenomenal after the catch. So is Ted McMillan. But Ted McMillan, like what makes him my comp when I'm looking at Ted McMillan and like studying him a little bit is what if DK Metcalf could turn? And
Right.
like that's kind of how he's built. And but he has like tremendously quick feet and like agility to him. So like the things that were held against DK Metcalf, he has those. So like adding that with CD Lamb, like I just think that's a force to really be reckoned with, especially if you're making a head coaching change and you bring in someone with an offensive background like a Steve Sarkisian, if that were to happen, like seeing what he could do with two weapons like that, my God.
There are a lot of teams on here that could take it. I'm trying to figure out the last one here. I'm gonna go Miami at 13. I think that's a great fit because they may be done with the Tyreek Hill business.
Yeah, it seems like they might be, and that would actually be really interesting because he's a dude who, like I said, he has the DK Metcalf traits, which is ridiculous speed for his size. But like you look at every player basically on the Miami Dolphins, they're all small. None of them are big guys. So like adding a big guy who can also move into that offense would be really interesting.
Yeah, the tallest receiver on their team is their head coach, and Mike Vick.
That's not saying a whole hell of a lot either.
You know,
Oh, God.
we're all flying under the bees here in South Beach.
That's right.
You got one more team to add, or we want to just go with these five?
So if they wanted to get aggressive, I think I would still prefer them to go defense. But I don't hate Ted McMillan for the Panthers. I really
Right.
think that like Adam Thielen's going to be 34 years old next year. I think he probably comes back because he seems to actually really like it. And Carolina really likes helping Drake May develop. But outside of that, man, like Xavier Legette had an okay rookie season, but like I don't think he's going to be a number one. Like you're just lacking like real alpha options in that offense. And so like I think getting him in there would be a really nice cushion for Bryce Young after Bryce Young really impressed over the end of the season.
I just can't see the Panthers taking anybody besides Abdul Carter. But like
And I'm with you on that. To be clear, I'm just like I can talk about like if they were to shock us all and take Tech McMillan, it would not it wouldn't be a pick. I'd be like, what the hell are you
no,
doing? You know what I mean?
no, like Bryce Young and Dave Canellis could just tell Dan Morgan, like, we're all about the Ted.
Yeah, we're all about the Tet. I need someone to throw the football to, please God.
Because you can't not be feeling this forever. So,
That's right.
okay, so we've got the Browns, the Patriots, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins. Let's cross one off. Who do you feel of those teams is probably least likely?
We'll go with the Panthers. We'll cross the
Yeah.
Panthers off just because, like, I think that they are the ideal Abdul Carter landing spot. And if Abdul Carter doesn't make it to them, that probably means Mason Graham makes it to them. So I still think you would take Mason Graham in that scenario either.
Yes. And I'm going to cross off my first team I put on there, the Browns. I didn't realize where they're picking. I think moving back is there's just too many moving pieces there. The Browns have too many things to do. Like they could take Travis Hunter at two. Like
Mhm.
they could take Shador at two. They could take Cam Ward if he falls. That I just feel like it would be very Browns of them to take them at two, but they're not a stupid operation anymore, even though they had a terrible year. I feel like that was I feel that's the one team that's like really bad that I felt the worst about. Like they
Yeah.
were a lot better than what their year was going.
I mean, I only feel so bad about it because it was self-inflicted because you signed Deshaun Watson to a
Well,
fully
yeah,
guaranteed
yeah,
contract. So, I don't feel like that bad about it. But like, I do think Andrew Berry's a smart guy. And I think that he knows how, like, you look at the rest of the Browns roster and like, you see the vision. It's just your quarterback situation has been horrendous. And so, like, you're going to be in a bad spot there. I'll cross off the Patriots next. And the reason I'm going to cross off the Patriots is to me, I think you're looking at two things in this draft. One of those things is Travis Hunter, and the other thing is an offensive tackle. Because when I look at the Patriots and the cap space they have, and you look at the free agency market, you have guys like T. Higgins that you can just throw a bag at and try to, absolutely upgrade your wide receiver core that way. And I think that's an easier route than a tackle market in free agency that's headlined by Ronnie Stanley, a guy who I think is very good, but has been just plagued with injuries, is I believe over 30 now. So like you're taking a risk there. Whereas like if you draft a tackle, you're looking at Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks Jr. and someone who I think can be like a real stalwart and bookend for Drake May for the long term, but it also gives you the flexibility to go improve your roster in other areas.
yeah. I think the Patriots are going line meat. They could go
Yeah.
either like Kelvin Banks or Mason Graham or someone like that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to cross off Miami. I think they're too far back. I think that's the big issue for them. So that leaves us with the Raiders, the Cowboys, and congratulations, Ted McMillan's going to the Cowboys.
Yeah. Because I think that I, this is both exciting and quite anxiety inducing for me as a Cowboys fan. I think this season's going to make Jerry do something really stupid and irrational, like trading up into the top 10 for no reason at all. And so, like, that puts them in play. But, like, I see something very irrational coming from Jerry Jones in the future.
He's going to cut his ear off, put it in a box, and propose to his wife.
Shouts Van Gogh, baby.
Never go full Van Gogh, but we're going to go full Milroe here. So we're going to do the same thing with Jalen Milroe here.
Mhm.
First team that I think of for him potentially, um, about the Saints? Saints at 9. I
I
think
like that.
that's interesting because Derek Carr, it's cooked at that point. The Saints are probably going to hire. I feel like they're very much in the Aaron Glenn's sphere. Mickey Loomis is still going to be controlling it and everything like that.
I also
Uh,
don't think they move on from Carr this year because I just don't think it's
no,
like they have so many financial problems that adding more to that plate I just feels unviable. Like they're kind of stuck with Derek Carr.
yeah, they're going to be eating like 50 in dead cap, but the Saints need some sort of juice there. Milroe's from the Southeast. I think that's a long-term play there because like
Yeah, no,
you've
no,
got
I said the Derek Carr thing is a positive because like I think if you're drafting Jalen Milroe to start in 2025, that's a bad idea, brother. Do not do that.
no, you put yourself in a situation like the Falcons were with Cousins and Penix, and then you eventually make the move because now you're in the division with three guys who can really play, and Bryce Young, Penix, and Baker Mayfield. So you need to have some guy there who can actually play.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm gonna go my first team, and I'm gonna go to the Giants. Not at 3 though, at 35. And like I think that again, I think he's a day 2 pick. I think that's where he's gonna end up. I think we see the top 2 quarterbacks go, and then there's not any more taken in the first round. Like I don't have anyone. I think Milroe is my quarterback 3, but I just think he is a different proposition than Ward and Shador by a pretty wide margin right now. But I like the Giants potentially doing that, and then potentially I don't know which veteran you would bring in. Maybe you bring back Drew Lock and let him start a couple games because Drew Lock didn't play horribly in the last 2 games of the season. Maybe you can like find a little cushion to let Milroe develop behind him. But like the Giants obviously need a quarterback, and I think taking a swing on someone like Milroe, as long as you're not doing it with the number 3 pick, which is way too rich for my blood to take Jalen Milroe, like I think that that's a worthwhile swing if you're the Giants to take.
I can feel that particularly. Well, again, like they should have fired Brian Daboll. Like
Yes.
if they had Mike Vrabel, I'd be all about that. But like we'll see. But yeah, I think the Giants are a play there. I think he also is like the son of the military man. He'll be in there. He'll be very he'll fit whatever schlock the Giants are trying to put in our face.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I'm gonna go with the next team. I'm gonna go with the LA Rams. I feel like he's a guy that could potentially succeed. Matthew Stafford. I feel like that McVay would love building an offense around him. I think that it could be the latter part of the first round. They could move up in the second round. LA Rams is a feels like an interesting spot for him.
No, and kind of in the complete opposite mold of what Sean McVay could do for his career. What can Arthur Smith and FedEx do for you? Because the
Yeah,
Steelers are my second team,
yeah.
and I mean, there's just the uncertainty at quarterback with the Steelers right now is fascinating to me because Russell Wilson's probably going to get 30 to 40 million dollars on his next contract from AAV, and he wants probably a 3 to 5 year deal. Are you going to give him that? Because especially with how this season has ended for Pittsburgh, like it feels like the vibes were high when Russ finally took over as the starter, but the vibes have quickly diminished over this last month of the season, I would say. And so, and then Justin Fields, like, would just if I'm Justin Fields, screw the Steelers, dude. You like I was 4-2 as a starter, and you benched me. Like, I'm not coming back there. So, like,
No.
what do you like? I feel like the options are you either take a swing on someone like Milroe if you're the Steelers, or you're left holding the bag and you're just paying Russell Wilson because you kind of have to.
Yeah, Steelers is like the next team I was going to pick there. I think that's a really good fit. So I got to add one more here to the pot. So we got Steelers, we got Rams, we got Giants, and we got Saints. Give me the Raiders. I
Okay,
think that's
I
another
had them on
pick
my
too.
list as well. So
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of looking for either like Shador or him, maybe Beck or Ewers. They're going to get a quarterback. That's just inevitable.
yeah, no, you've got to bring something into that quarterback room because like the Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ritter, Gardner Minshew nonsense that you just can't do it again. So like you've got to find something.
All right, who's your last team?
My last team, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks, and
Yeah.
like it seems I think Geno Smith's been playing really well over the past few years, but at the same time, it feels like a lot of Seahawks fans are ready to write him out, and we keep hearing rumors of like the Seahawks are considering it. They're considering when to kind of cut the cord here, could whether that's cut or trade, but like they're trying to figure out the go there, but. if you want to keep Geno Smith for another year, it's another place where Milroe can go and learn and develop. I kind of like the idea of him developing under Ryan Grubb, kind of continuing what DeBoer started at Alabama. That's also a nice connection. Grubb can talk to DeBoer. That's a connection that they'll have. So, like, I think that there's enough connections and enough like reasonability there for that to make sense.
Okay, I can get behind that. So I'm gonna cross the first one off. I'm gonna cross off my own pick with the LA Rams because F them picks. They don't tell the Rams what to do.
Yeah, they're going to trade for someone. They're not picking a quarterback. What are you talking about? I'm going to cross off the Steelers just because, like, I think it's what they should do. I don't think it's what they're going to do, and that's kind of that's an important disconnect.
Yes, so we got the Giants, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cross off the Saints. I still feel they're
Okay.
1 year away. I feel like they got to get out of the Derek Carr cap stuff. Spencer Rattler played pretty well yesterday down the stretch. Maybe you see what they have with them. Saints, if it doesn't work out, they will draft a quarterback next year, probably Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah. Which, hey, could wouldn't hate it. That's my dude right there. So that's the next Quinn Ewers, in case you were curious, is Garrett
Yeah,
Nussmeier. He could suck all next season, and I'm still going to be in on him. But I'll cross off the Seahawks just because I think they're kind of in no man's land picking at 18, and like that's if you pick, I still think Milroe at 18 would be a reach, but then you're talking about getting down into like the 50s when they would be picking again, and is he still going to be there? I have a hard time envisioning it.
I feel that. So here's what I'm thinking. I think he's going to go to the Giants strictly for this reason because there's no way in hell Short Sanders is playing for the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He wore the Giants cleats for Colorado's bowl game before he played his worst game of the season. So
Yeah. I just feel like Shador or Jalen Miller is going to play for the Raiders, and I feel that like
yeah,
Shador fits. They both fit it too, but like I can see Milroe fitting with the Giants more than I can. I can also see Cam Ward fitting with the Giants. I can't see Shador playing for the Titans. I could see Shador playing for like I can't wait till we do that with him, where if it's somebody besides the Raiders, how we even get there with him.
yeah. I mean, like I think with the interesting thing with the Giants and Shador, I wonder if Dion said that he was gonna pull strings, but not really be like that publicly facing. Like he would talk to who he needed to talk to make it happen. He said that I believe in the past month or so, and past week, couple weeks actually. But anyway, I wonder if in talking to the Giants, if the conversation was, hey, if you're going to draft Shador, you have to fire Brian Dable because we don't want that. We don't want to be part of this nonsense.
I think you also got to factor in you could probably pick Pat Shermer's brain about being there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
he's like, is this that dysfunctional? I was like, no, I just suck. But he also,
No, I'm
yes.
just bad at this. Thanks for asking.
So congratulations. Tetairoa McMillan is now playing for the Cowboys and Jalen Milroe is playing for the New York Giants. So NFC East just got a whole lot more interesting.
That's
And
right.
the Power Four is going to get a lot more interesting here with our penultimate topic with 4 for 4. Yes. So obviously with bowl season being done minus the playoffs, we're gonna basically figure out like what team in each league who missed a bowl game is gonna make it next year. So the ACC had 4 teams didn't go bowling: Florida State, Stanford, Virginia, or Wake Forest. Of those four, who do you feel is gonna go bowl game?
Dude, this is a poo-poo platter. This is
It's
not
not
this was
good.
not fun. I went with Virginia. I think like even though they didn't make a bowl game, I just feel like there's more stability there. I still question Tony Elliott's ceiling at Virginia, but like this is a team that seems to be or a program I should say that seems to be stabilizing a little bit. And like Florida State's probably the obvious pick just because they're going to have so much more talent. There's no way they're going to be 2-10 again. But at the same time, after watching them go 2-10, I can't. It's really hard for me to trust the Knowles right now.
Yeah, Virginia was my pick too. I think the additions of Chandler Morris and Daniel Kalen in the portal really help offset losing Calandria. Where did Calandria go? He go to UNLV maybe?
I think that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone was saying the Whoopsie Daisy King is now a true gambling man. So yes.
Yeah, and so if it's not Virginia, I would probably go Florida State just because that was such an outlier last year. The coaching is too good, and Castellanos is too good of a quarterback for them to be that bad.
Yeah. No. 100%.
And I think that says really bad things about Stanford and Wake, particularly Stanford, because Wake, we like Jake Dicker, but this is going to be a transitional year.
Yeah, it's just gonna take a minute. This isn't an indictment on Jake Dickert at Wake Forest. It's just, give it some time.
Give it some time. Okay, that was easy. This one's going to be harder. The Big Ten. Let's move on to the Big Ten. TIN 10.
10.
10. We got Maryland, Michigan State, Northwestern, Purdue, UCLA, or Wisconsin.
I'm gonna go Michigan State. And to me, they just kind of stood out as they flirted with bowl eligibility in a year that was a transitional year with Aiden Childs being thrown in probably before he was ready. But I think that he got better as the season went on and gained some valuable experience. We both like Jonathan Smith as a head coach. We both think he knows how to build a program, and building a program doesn't happen overnight. Like it just doesn't. So, like, I think the fact that we're going to get another year of him instilling his philosophies, his culture, I just can see, like, I'm not saying that Michigan State's going to be a 10-win team or anything like that, but like making a 2-win improvement to get to 7-5, I can easily see that in year two of Jonathan Smith.
Totally. I'm right there with you. That was one I considered. I ultimately went with UCLA.
Okay, and I like that one too.
I think the fact that you're going to be upgrading it offensive coordinator from Eric Bieniemy to Tina Sunseri, obviously Deshaun Foster seems to have the right pulse of what it means there. It matters a lot to him. They had for them to be floating with a bowl game on a year where everybody thought they were going to go 2-10 or 3-9 is pretty impressive. They kind of their identity works well with the Big Ten. I just feel like there's a little more momentum. This could totally blow up in my face, and they could go 3-9 next year. But like, I liked more of what I saw out of Deshaun Foster. That was the guy where like, oh, this is Gerard Mayo. This is not going to work, and it seems to be okay, and I'm happy about that.
No, 100%. He seems to be a lot better fit for the job than I think you or I ever expected.
And the other four we have on here with Maryland, Northwestern, Purdue, and Wisconsin. I think we think Purdue's going to be better, but they're not quite there.
Yeah.
Um, I think Northwestern will be better, or once they get to a stadium, they'll figure it out. Maryland and Wisconsin, I've got some real concerns about.
Yeah, they are both Maryland and Wisconsin sit in this space for me currently where I don't feel confident making a prediction either way. Because
No,
like I can create the path for both of these to turn around. Like I think Mike Locksley is a good coach. I think Maryland has never had a talent issue. It's just they kind of get into the thralls of the Big Ten schedule and they kind of shrink from the moment. Wisconsin, I think, has improved the talent, but it just seems so schematically transitional and trying like maybe too many cooks in the kitchen with what Luke Fickell's trying to do right now. That worries me. But I could also see where like these changes ultimately start to level out as you start to get the talent that fits these systems in. So like I could see it going either way. I'm probably lower on the upside of Wisconsin at this point than I am of Maryland, but like also we've seen these two programs kind of, S the bed pretty recently. So like I don't trust either of them either.
I'm right there with you. They could go 8-4, they could go 4-8. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit higher on Maryland because Loxley is at least able to like recruit, and he's always got offense there. Luke Fickell I just took a bad job. I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to work out for him there. So that's interesting. Moving on to the sorry, you had a comment.
No, 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 no. No. I was ready to move on.
Okay, we're moving on to the Big 12. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Arizona, Cincinnati, Houston, Kansas, Oklahoma State, UCF, and Utah.
This was one of the tougher ones, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go with Kansas. And honestly, it comes down to the fact that I trust Lance Leipold more than I do any other coach on this list. Like, we've seen Kansas be able to, like, I don't think they were a non-bowl team in terms of quality this year. They just
Right.
caught some bad luck early in the year, and we saw more what Kansas was supposed to be at the end of the year. I don't see Lance Leipold letting that slip. I think they get back to a bowl game pretty soon.
That's the cleared obvious pick. I'm going to split the last one because there's a lot here. Because again, this is a lot of not good.
Yeah. It's a lot of whoa, I don't know, man. That like what we just said about Maryland and Wisconsin, I think every one of these teams almost fits into that bowl.
I'm leaning Houston. That's
I
my
like that too. I do like Houston with bringing in Connor Wegman with what we think of Willie Fritz. Like
and the other one I really considered was Arizona because of the short king.
Short King, he is staying. I don't know if Brent Brennan's a good coach. We might have
Uh,
missed on that liking that hire, unfortunately.
But yeah, I don't trust Satterfield at all.
No, never
Gundy may
trust the
just
Satterfield. That's our number one rule on false
Gundy
start.
may retire before the season starts.
Hmm. Yeah,
I think Utah's cooked and UCF's going to be a disaster in Scott Frost.
I'm not ruling out UCF working just yet, but there is high disaster potential. I'll give you that 100%.
It's going to be bad. And the SEC is going to be a lot easier. So there's only three:
Yes.
Auburn, Kentucky, and Mississippi State. You go first.
It's Auburn, bro. You
Yeah.
know it is. Like it's like, are they a top 10 team? No. Are they an easy bowl team for me next year? Absolutely. Like I think this team, like they have the talent that got some experience last year. You upgraded at quarterback. I don't know what the ceiling is at quarterback, but you've upgraded from Peyton Thorne. There's no question about that. And like, it's really hard for me to find a way that this team isn't winning at least 6 games next year.
It's clearly Auburn, but for the sake of argument, I'll say Mississippi State. I feel like
Oh yeah,
they're trending up. If Luka Kremeniuk plays well, Jeff Lebby's getting in shape, figuring it out. They didn't quit on him, even though
yeah.
MVBJ.
MVBJ, yes.
Kentucky's in a really bad spot. But I also think like this is the thing I was going to go on. And everybody's saying that the Big Ten's past the SEC. SEC had 13 bowl teams. Like
No.
this is just that's what I argue about it all. It's like and even Auburn like beat somebody, even Kentucky beat somebody, even Mississippi State played good. There weren't really any easy outs here. Some of the Big Ten stuff. You have like this sad bag of crap there in College Park, Maryland. Just
Oh yeah.
awful.
I mean, and then you've got the ACC out here. Just not only did they have four of the worst non-bowl teams, but they also proceeded to go 0 and 12 against the spread in bowl games.
It's about being precise.
Oh God.
Uh,
Ah.
that's okay. It's basketball season, I guess now.
Carolina's not very good.
Georgia's pretty good, so apparently we're doing pretty good. Apparently, so that's crazy.
Love to see
Mike,
it.
go Dogs, baby.
Go Dogs.
And we're gonna move on to our last topic here with some bowling, 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 bowling. Yes, we're gonna recap five bowl games: the Music City, the Cheez-It Citrus, the Peach, the Gator, the Duke's Mayo, and the Bahamas Bowl. So we're in birthday party capital of the world. Missouri beat Iowa. I believe you got that right. I got that one.
Yeah. I what I got wrong was Iowa scored 24 points, which was about 10 more than I thought they'd get. So, congrats to Iowa for, beating the team total there.
So this was before we got there. This was a big deal. So we told Antonio says meet us at the Parthenon, and because he had to do a pee break.
Mhm.
And we were late to the game because Antonio thought he could drink on a leash too with Brian. So we walked from the Parthenon to the bluff called the Hermitage in
Yes.
Jackson's estate, and we were coming down the mountain. Everybody looked at us on Broadway, and
Bulldog.
Bulldog, and I think that was why Iowa played so well, is because Kirk thought he was never going to see his son again, and then he showed up and lost.
Yeah, Brian got there and it immediately killed the vibes as it does.
Oh God, but yes, that's how the Music City Bowl was, and well, we've had some really wild times there with Antonio, a little more tame than we expected.
Yeah, he was on good behavior. He really respects Drink and he's always trying to impress Drink a little bit. So
Yeah, yeah. Drake says I can't put the leash on. Like I got a coach, but I'll put it in my office.
yeah, I'll hang it on my wall. But like
I'll recruit. Do I? Let me tell you, I know who Antonio Banderas is. And you got to explain to me what the hell happened there and the Cheese and Citrus Bowl with Brett Bielema and Shane Beamer and Antonio. Explain this to me like I was five because I went to go get some Cheez-Its because Antonio wanted more Cheez-Its.
yeah. So while, that was actually, I think, a ruse by Antonio because, the popular story of what got the coaches heated was that it was about substitution. Shane Beamer was trying to do some substitution shenanigans. Bert went out there and decided to taunt him about that. So we ended up with a little Shane Beamer getting really amped up over the Citrus Bowl. But what actually happened was Antonio was actually going out there to help with the injured player, and Burt tried to signal to him, and Shane Beamer didn't like him trying to steal Antonio from the sidelines, and so Shane got really heated over that. Turns out Shane a big fan of Antonio.
Yes. Yes. He wants to be number one on his heart. Like he's got an Antonio
He's got
tattoo
a
here.
five-star heart, you know.
5-star heart, Antonio tattoo. Like he's a Tony Griffith fan. Big fan. Yes. Antonio's warming up to him. So he was like,
Yeah,
wow, I'm impressed.
bulldog.
Well, so the Arizona State podcast and I there for the Peach Bowl. We had really great seats. We got to see everything from above. Antonio wasn't around us a lot. He said he wanted to touch Sark. I'm like, please don't do that. But he was obviously there hanging out with Kenny D. That was really a
Kenny
big
D and
deal for
Scooby
him.
Doo, baby.
Yes, Scooby Doo and Kenny D. So the play that like Scooby Doo, he was calling the plays. Marcus Arroyo was like, fine, you get to call two. So he called the Cam Scottaboo touchdown pass, and then
Yep.
the wide receiver the wheel. It was like Scooby Doo and where are you?
Scooby Doo. Oh my god.
But we didn't see him very much. So the big thing was like, where is Antonio? And the
Yeah.
Arizona State podcast is like, look at Sparky doing push-ups. And I saw the look on Sparky's face. I'm like, oh my God, Antonio put on the Sparky mask.
Look, man. I'm just happy Antonio's taking care of his body because that's not something he's really known for.
No, he was doing push-ups because mostly he was impressing because like that's what he did in college. Like he that this is his alma mater. This is where he hung out in a van by a college, like Carl.
He went to college in the construction side of Mercedes Benz.
Majored in whistling and vibes.
That's right.
We got the Gator Bowl after that. We went down to Jacksonville. Yeah, Antonio kept getting confused like me. He kept thinking it was the Mayo Bowl, so he dressed up as a Mayo for both of these games. But
Yeah.
also in the land of Limp Bizkit, he was trying to find Fred Durst, and he found Lane Kiffin,
He
and I think
found,
that was
yeah. Lane Kiffin out here taking shots at Diego Pavia. I've got to shout out one of the worst bad beats of all time that my Stacking the Box college football edition co-host Reed Wallach took. He took Duke team total under 17 and a half. And that looked wonderful for the entire game until Duke in the final minute of the game returned to kickoff 99 yards for a meaningless touchdown to get to 20 points.
I think it's because Antonio was barking at him, and they just ran.
Probably.
I don't know if Reed knows or cares about Antonio, but I think he does after this.
That's right.
So we go to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and we're in Charlotte, and it was his birthday. So he dressed up as a 50 Cent, hey, and go Shardy, but he thought it was go Shardy, Charlotte, it's your birthday.
Yeah.
Uh, he was hanging up he was hanging up out at he was in the other sidelines. Like there was one where they were panning the camera to Harry Lyles Jr. eating mayo,
Yeah.
and he was in the other side over there. And
He was bathing in the bay. They couldn't show that on TV.
no, he couldn't. And he actually found and appreciated PJ Fleck before. I think he was the guy that said, like, you need to put the cap on your head. And PJ is like, no. And then it stuck. Nobody, nobody got doused in mayo more than anybody. I will say that I'm really high in Minnesota next year. I feel like they've got this turned around.
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled with this because I can't describe to you how high I was on PJ Fleck when he left Western Michigan. Like I just thought that I thought he was going to have frankly a Kurt Signetti like effect jumping from the G5 to the P4, P5 at the time. And it didn't happen entirely. Like he had some good seasons, but it wasn't Indiana's level, I wouldn't say. And like then we regressed. So I'm happy to see him doing well. I've been high on him as a coach for a long time, and it seems like he is absolutely getting things on the right track.
100%. So after freezing the mayo, Antonio was in the bath, and he wanted to change to go to Bahamas. We couldn't pass through customs, so he just threw him in a box,
Yeah, of course.
and he was stuck in that box, and we got him out. But because the box was covered in North Carolina tar, he came out of the box looking like the monster from Fern Gully. That's twice now.
Oh God, Fern Gully goes to the Bahamas.
Yes, and Buffalo. I think we were both right on that. I think we both picked up Minnesota and Ole Miss
Yeah,
and,
as well.
and Texas. And
Yeah,
I think we picked South Carolina to win over.
I definitely picked South Carolina
Yeah,
to win. Yeah,
I was wrong there, but yeah. the Ooze Fest, and that was what it felt like we put a really good bow on the latter part of Bowling with Antonio. Like Pete Limbo respected the hell that Antonio was willing to come in a box covered in mayonnaise and charcoal and tar to celebrate the Buffalo Bills.
100%. Yeah. Pete Limbo was all about it. Jamie Chadwell was too busy just pandering to the Liberty Boosters with his Jesus t-shirt.
He's trying to find wings there in Nassau to sell Jesus t-shirts. They don't have that.
Love of wings, man. Who doesn't love the wings?
I had my birthday party at Wings there, man. That place is so freaking cool. But yes, this was episode 140 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams, Captain America, at the Sizzle 20. You can follow the show at CFP False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review anywhere there's podcast. 5-star view coming out of the coffin. There's 5 points in a star. There's 5-star hearts out there, and there's not 5 teams left in the college football playoff. There's only four.
There's only four for four.
4 for 4. But yeah, we'll be coming back on Wednesday to preview the games as well. I don't know what else we're gonna do, and then we'll come to you guys after the. I keep doing this. It gets stuck. The Cotton Bowl. It gets stuck in my head like cotton.
Cotton-headed ninny muggins.
Yes. Cotton-headed ninny muggins. Don't put the Q-tip all the way in the back of your ear. And this is false start.